Welcome to the Dirt World Podcast. I'm Jason Richmond, a fourth-generation road builder who started on a shovel and now serves as the Chief Operating Officer at BuildWit. This podcast digs into the infrastructure construction world, exploring the challenges, successes, and strategies that shape exceptional leadership and build a thriving workforce. Our next guest is Jamie Roush, President and General Manager at Dynapac North America. He has served in this role since October of 2021 and has over 2 decades of experience in the equipment industry. With a sales and leadership background, he is helping facilitate Dynapac's growth in the North American market. I'm excited to hear Jamie's story, learn more about Dynapac, and discuss leadership and workforce development in the construction industry. Jamie, welcome to the Dirt World Podcast.
Long time coming. We've been back and forth trying to get it coordinated. So thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man, I'm super excited to have you on. You know, we started talking months ago about the area at Dirt World Summit and, glad to put a name with a face and to jump on and have kind of our first video call, here on the Dirt World Podcast. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, hey, let's just start with where are you calling from today?
So at the moment, I'm between travel and everything else. I'm currently home. So I'm preparing to leave. I'll be going to France later this week. We have a FIAT, I'll talk about it later, part of our FIAT group. We'll do a sales and marketing meeting in France, in Bordeaux, France, of all places, right?
Sounds like a terrible place to go.
Tough place to go for sure. But I'll fly out of here later this week and spend all next week in France. So I'm actually calling from my house.
Very good. Very good. Sounds great. Well, hey, if we would, let's just jump into a little bit of your background, your story, and kind of path into the dirt world. Give me kind of the Jamie Roush story.
Yeah. So I'm a nerd. I have been a nerd for a long time.
Our CEO is also known as the Chief Dirt Nerd. So you and him would get along well.
So I graduated with a physics degree by chance. It's weird to say that, but I was always relatively good at math in school. And one day I was a senior probably in high school and I had Googled high paying jobs and it said mechanical engineers made the most money coming out of school. So I thought, oh, cool. I'll go in for math related things. Right. And so the school that I went to, small school, liberal arts school, east of Columbus, Ohio, they had a bridge program, and it was a three years and a 2-year at a different school, and they said, okay, you'll come out with a mechanical engineering degree. Long story short, I stuck around for the physics degree, and then later went to graduate school for mechanical engineering. But I mean, I kind of grew up with that nerdy technical background. That's where it all started for me. I grew up in the garage with my dad. I worked on cars. In fact, when I was a kid, he had a 66 Chevy pickup with a 427 engine in it that I actually own today. But I grew up wrenching on it.
That's really cool. That is really, really cool. So talk to me through about maybe some of your career milestones, maybe some of the different roles that you've had along the way, and maybe your favorite job along the way.
Sure. I mean, for me, so I started as a salesperson, right? So fine, I graduated with this cool technical degree, and for me, I had this unique ability to translate, right? I can translate technical stuff into layman terms so people can understand them. So that's been a strong suit for me for a long time. So my first real job out of school was I say that while I was going to grad school, I worked in a shop doing CNC, old school CNC lathe, turning a lathe, Acme Grid Me lathe. I mean, I was always that guy, right? Would pick up to do anything that someone else didn't want to do, or someone said I couldn't do. That's sort of a thing that you'll hear me say a lot in this podcast is usually something happened. Someone told me I couldn't do something. Right. And then I ended up doing it to prove them wrong later, but fine. But so I started out as a salesman, right? I was a salesperson. I had a territory up in Ohio, Michigan, northern Indiana, kind of grew up through the ranks doing that. And then decided that I wanted to put my technical skills, my engineering skills to the test. Right. And so through a series of a couple other companies, ended up at a company, really strong company in Northeast Ohio as a technical service engineer. And it was a global project or global position where I would provide technical engineering support for the semiconductor market across the world. And it was a fantastic job to learn the ropes, I guess, so to speak, right? As a technical service engineer, you're involved in everything from engineering to distribution. And so it gave me a good sort of background or intro into the actual production of the manufacturing side.
That's really cool. So, uh, getting experience with the customer and with the team from an internal standpoint, you got to see both sides
That's right.
of it.
Yeah, that's right. And then the actual design work that goes behind. Like for example, at the time, I was involved in providing a valving solution or regulation solution of when they would chemically etch semiconductor wafers, right? So we would design the panel of what they would do to chemically etch the wafer before they would, like at the Intel fabs.
Incredible. So, a couple decades growing up in the industry, spent some time in sales. Few years back, you go from sales to the president and GM. That that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it happened that fast too. It was perfect, right? Perfectly fast. Yeah, sure. It's been a long road and learning a lot of ropes and a lot of lessons along the way for sure. I guess from my perspective, it's really been a series of progressive, ladder jumps. Every so often, you challenge or you push even harder, and you demonstrate that you can do more, and you can communicate better and things like that. So yeah, I mean it's been that, and starting in October, as you mentioned, to be the president general manager for Dynapac North America. Yeah, so 2 years almost to the day, actually.
Wow, that's incredible. Well, congrats on that. I've had the opportunity to talk to a lot of college students and whatnot, and the speed to success is always a conversation, right? And I've said I'm a 25-year overnight success. Just realize it takes a while. Started on a shovel, had multiple positions, lots of learning lessons along the way. So I think it's important for people that are listening, that are out there, like to hear those different milestones in the career. You see someone like yourself with passion and energy and young and youthful and president and GM. It's like, man, happened overnight. Like, that's awesome. It's like, no, there's been a long road to get there. A lot of lessons learned along the way.
I have a saying. I joke. The more I do it, the luckier I get. Right? I mean,
I love that.
That's kind of how it is. The more you do something, the luckier you get at it. Right? So fine. Yeah.
I love that. Well, hey, this one's kind of a twofold question. I'll let you go either way, whichever makes most sense, or if you want to answer both, that's fine too. But want to kind of lean into biggest failure or greatest success, and what did you learn from that experience in your career journey?
Yeah. I guess let's start with failure. So I was a fresh production supervisor. I had been in one of my career tracks. I had been identified as a management potential trainee, so they wanted to put me on a career track to do it. And so one of the first phases was to become a production supervisor. So they said, you can have first, second, or third. You can take your pick, and we'll stick you in that position for some period of time so you can sort of learn the ropes. So I said, I want to be second shift supervisor. And they're like, why do you want to be second? Nobody ever wants to be second shift supervisor. That's a weird time. It's from 3 to 11. Nobody ever wants to do that. And my answer was, it's the least amount of management. And so I can demonstrate that I can do this, right? I know what needs to be done. I know how to do it, right? And so I became a second shift production supervisor. During that time, though, I became a 5S facilitator. I became the night shift 5S facilitator. And I'll never forget, out of all the 5S facilitation training that I ever took, I became a subject matter expert, and I knew everything. I was such a genius. So we go into the first 5S assembly project, and we went in with all the answers. We knew exactly what needed to be done. We told all the employees what needed to be done. And we went in, and it was a massive failure. it was our fault, right? The key to this, and what starts to shape me as a person today, as a leader today, is it's the autonomy. It's the people who do the job. They know what needs to be done. And so as a subject matter expert for 5S, or frankly, any of these leadership positions, you need to listen to the people, right? They know what needs to be done. And it's important for them to be able to communicate, and you just install the framework sort of around it in order to execute and then sort of measure it and make it work, make it happen. So I would say that was probably my one of my biggest failures. Great. It was a fantastic learning lesson as an early supervisor in my career. It was a fantastic learning lesson, and having to sort of digest what had happened, right? And then translate it into something productive moving forward.
What an incredible story. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that one of the things we have to do in the construction industry is not be afraid to fail, but also learn from those lessons as you have. And now you're able to apply that, as you move forward. And then as a leader, you get to talk about them because now you've got this experience that really can relate to people. And so I really appreciate you sharing that. Anything on the success side that you want to share?
Yeah. Look, Dynapac is fire right now. I mean, we could talk about it all day. The people, the passion. I mean, if you talk to any of our people, you can see, and directly translating into that previous story. I mean, it is the passion that people have and the autonomy that I give or we give to say, look, do it, man. Pretend it's your own business. It's you're the entrepreneur here. Everybody has an entrepreneurial spirit. Wants to do what's right, wants to be successful, wants to grow this company. And frankly, when you talk to any of my people, you can feel it, taste it, see it. I mean, it's a very, very fun time to be at Dynapac. That's for sure.
Well, for a company that started in 1934, I'm pretty excited to hear you using the word entrepreneurial spirit, because in construction we tend to lose that entrepreneurial spirit over the decades of business, and so I'm excited to hear a little bit more about that.
So we have my VP of marketing, VJ, likes to say that we're 80-year brand recognition with the mind of a startup, right?
I love it.
And it is really that, right? So for a long time, we did a lot of things that were right, and did a really good job. So as you said, we started in 1934, and through a series of changes, we started as AB Vibro Beton back in 34, based in Sweden. And then later as a part of Dynamic Compaction became Dynapac, right? And then later acquired DMAG from a paver manufacturing standpoint in Germany, built some factories in China, built a factory in India. And then in 2017, were acquired by the Fiat Group. And so I would say that was look, if you look at pre 2017, you kind of went through a series of private equity holders, right? And so while you had a lot of autonomy, it was all managing to a spreadsheet at the time, right? And so as long as the financials were fine, everybody was happy. Fiat is different, right? Fiat is different from the perspective of if you actually, so Mr. Fiat comes to ConExpo every year. He's here quite a bit. Every ConExpo, not every year, every 3 years. But he will literally sit and talk with you about paving and compaction and road equipment and road life cycle. I mean, he knows and understands that. And he understands that it's not the same fulfillment strategy for, a widget as opposed to a paver, right? You need to have a different fulfillment strategy to have parts for pavers. If a paver goes down in the middle of the night, you need to have a different fulfillment strategy than other pieces of equipment. And so he recognizes that and supports us in that. And so that's why you see, so in 2017, it's been for us up. I mean, the trajectory for us has been fantastic. People like to say, what did they do? Did they bring a bunch of people here and install a whole Fiat group? No, he said, you have the autonomy. You guys know what to do. Go do it.
Wow. That's incredible. He sounds like an incredible owner and leader, someone who, really wants to talk with the people, to listen to the people, passionate about, road construction and the equipment that it takes to get it done. You were just talking about heading to France. Is that where the headquarters is at?
That's right. Yeah. So our headquarters is officially in Bordeaux, France. That's where all of us report to. So Fiat has 7 core businesses in total, right? Everything from road equipment to metals, civil works, energy services. There are 7 core businesses. It's around 5 billion overall in turnover and 22,000 employees. So
That's
we will
incredible.
all ascend into Bordeaux on the road equipment side, and we'll do a sales and marketing meeting next week and kind of close out. So our fiscal just ended on the 30th. So we'll kind of close out this year, and we'll move into 24 and review sort of how the group did, and then talk through what our plans are moving forward into 24.
So forgive me, but Dynapac is the road equipment piece of the Fiat group. Is that correct? Or are there other
there are
groups
definitely
as well?
others, right? So, for example, if you look at the entire road life cycle, you would have we have what's called a Marigny-Ermont division that does asphalt plants. We have a Secmer division that does distributor trucks and things like that. We have a sweeper group. We even have a company that's in that group. It's called Charlotte that does tuggers, like at an airport. They tow the luggage. They tug the luggage. So yes, it's not just Dynapac.
Gotcha. So talk to me a little bit about Dynapac specifically. Here in North America, probably most of our listeners are going to be, here wondering a little bit about. Talk to me about the company, the organization, how you're structured, where you're at, how people can learn more about Dynapac.
Yeah, sure. So Dynapac.com/US. We have a site. Our headquarters are currently in Fort Mill, South Carolina, which is about 20 minutes south of Charlotte. We are, as you and I talked earlier, I'll spill the beans. We are in the midst of opening a new headquarters. Just closing land acquisition for, it looks like 35 acres in South Carolina, in which we will start the process to have a distribution center of our own in-house. We will have manufacturing assembly operations there. We will have what I believe to be will be the Eastern competence center for the world. They will all come here for that kind of thing, where we'll do mill and fill. We'll do full soil roller testing, things that you guys are going to see at Dirt World, right? So you're going to see my team will be there with a full scale VR simulation of how our seismic works, and we can certainly talk about that later. But yeah, that's where we are. We're there, and we expect that we'll be 25, 26. We should have the headquarters done. We'll see. I don't know what the state of construction is right now, right? So,
yeah, that's incredible. And if I recall from one of our earlier conversations, maybe test track training, open, really trying to bring people in, from all across the industry, not just to put Dynapac on the forefront, but really from an education, a training, a communication, to try to bring people in.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah. So what I aspire to do is I aspire to have sort of an operator or training program, right? I'd like to become to the point of having an operations, where people can come and get sort of certified in terms of, and make it exciting, by the way, because look, we'll talk about workforce development later, but we all have problems getting people to come to this market, especially young people to come and want to work in this market. But to have some exciting, training protocol where you come in and test the machines and drive the machines and learn how to properly compact. And I mean, okay, I say that, but these days, most of the, like our seismic, it almost does it for you. There's not a whole lot of changing frequencies and amplitudes that you have to do. But okay. The ideal thing is that you, as an operator, you can come in and become certified, right? So you come out of school, you come get certified as an operator, and now you can go to a contractor with a piece of paper that says, hey, look, I already know how to run a Dynapac roller. I already know how to compact soil, which is a game changer. I mean, as a contractor, most of the people that you're going to talk to, that it's changed. The operator person has changed today. You may have gone from the person who was turning the sign, right? slow stop,
Mm-hmm.
right, is now running,
Mm-hmm.
a soil roller, an 84-inch soil roller. So, we need to be sensitive to that. And I think this will allow us to do that, right? Having this operator training and becoming, being able to get certified.
As I was cruising the website prior to the call, I was looking at the compaction, and then I got into all the different rollers and single drum vibratory rollers, double drum, combi, pneumatic, tamping. I mean, I was just like, man, how many different types of rollers
Right.
are there?
Yeah. I mean, it's just like anything else, right? There are specifics in terms of what you might want to do, whether it's finishing asphalt or whether it's, the sub or, whatever you want, right? It depends on the application. And there are certainly ones that fit, I mean, more specifically to the Dirt World group. I mean, there are ones that fit from the large static roller to, a heavy 84-inch with a pad foot on it, right? There's a whole, application side from top to bottom. It's funny you say that. I did the construction on the National Mall for AEM in DC, and we happened to do it on Mother's Day. And so they were, a lot of families coming around on Sunday. And so someone asked me, they said, "Hey, why would I go to Dynapac instead of someone else?" And I said, "Well, someone else might be perceived as, like, if you put it in doctor's terms, someone else might be perceived as a primary care physician, right? I went to my primary care physician because my shoulder hurt, right? Fine. So I went and, okay, he knows my shoulder hurts and we can either PT it or I might need to get surgery. Fine. If I need to get surgery, then they refer me to a specialist. I'm the specialist for compaction and paving."
I like it. That's good. That's really, really good. That's really, really good. That makes a lot of sense. So I was looking at, you've got compaction, you've got paving, you've got compact equipment, and then parts and support. But one thing that really caught my eye was the Z period ERA, zero for emission free world. So talk to me a little bit about that.
So we are the first manufacturer with serial production electric rollers, right? So we're officially approved in California Core as a supplier for electric rollers. I have sat on a few different sustainability panels. I sat on one at AEM at the mall. I sat on one at the Ignite Construction Summit. Look, I'm not sure if electric is the final answer, and I'm not controlling that, and I'm not dictating that. What I do know is, and I don't want to offend any phone users that are out there, but if my statement has been this: I want to be the iPhone and not the Samsung. So we're trying to be at the forefront and and stay on top of the technology and have the latest and greatest technology. So we'll continue to evolve. But yeah, so we have a what we say Z.era, or the European side Z.era, Z.era. But to have a full electric range. So we'll continue to develop that. We already have what we call the 900 and 1000 out today, already out in the marketplace. I think from a viability perspective, I think you'll see it's just like, I mean, I don't know. Do you have an electric mower yet? No. Okay. You probably have a cordless drill.
Yes.
So it started with, you had a corded drill back in the day. We all had corded drills. Well, then now I don't do anything without electric drill, right? You're starting to see more people migrate toward electric mowers. I don't have one yet either, but fine. But you're starting to see more people migrate to electric mowers. So I think, long term, what it looks like, fine. But I think you'll see a migration into forward plates, right? Reversible plates, rammers. I think you'll start to see, because, I mean, you can standardize on a battery solution. I think that's the biggest issue. I mean, if you look at the iPhone, the biggest complaint for a long time was every year it's a new charger, right? Remember, the charger was all weird and like, why do I have to keep buying a different charger and that kind of thing? I think that is really the biggest challenge from an adoption standpoint is having some kind of standardized charging system or some charging infrastructure, right? In the light compaction stuff, you can standardize, like Honda has a battery solution. There's a company, Battery One, that has a battery solution. And you can sort of standardize. So you can say, all right, I got my 5, 6, 8, 10 hours out of it. Then I can swap a battery and put a new one in. Once you get to that level, I think it becomes real, right? I think it becomes real. So consequently, we launched in Europe a European city paver that is also electric powered. So it's
Very
coming. I
cool.
mean, it's here and it's coming, and how real it is still to be determined. Somewhere in between an electric and a hydrogen, probably, but it's coming.
Yeah, from a marketing stance, I really liked how you separated your pavers between mini, compact, commercial, city, highway. So many times you see equipment and it's like a number and a few letters, and it's like very confusing. Now, if you live it every day and you breathe it and you're using it, you know what all those numbers are. But for a person like myself that hasn't been using those pavers lately, it was kind of cool to see it broken down that way. What's the biggest difference between those pavers, as we start thinking about the difference between a commercial paver and a highway paver? Like, is it weight? Is it size? Is it compaction? Is it a little bit of all of
Yeah,
those
I mean,
things?
it's a combination of all that stuff, right? But at the end of the day, you traditionally wouldn't use a commercial paver to go 20 feet wide and pave a highway, for miles, which is what we do here, right? So, they cater towards screed design, they cater towards ease of use, things like that. So, I mean, commercial paver is more your residential, your cul-de-sacs, your driveways, this kind of thing, right? So it's in manufacturing, it's in heating style. How do you heat the screeds? And then, frankly, it's in cost, right? Quite frankly, it's in cost. I mean,
Absolutely.
you use an 8-foot highway class paver with a front mount screed to pave a driveway? I mean, you could. It's going to be expensive, but you could.
Yeah, for sure. Well, as you talked earlier, an 80-year brand with an entrepreneurial spirit, you're evolving as a company, you're super innovative, you're leaning into sustainability efforts, you're differentiating yourself, from the competition in terms of, your specialty and the way that you go about things. So, really commend you on the Dynapac front and all that you guys are doing. Before we transition into leadership, is there any last thoughts from a Dynapac standpoint? You're like, man, I really wish I would have got this across.
I think, as I said earlier, if you're listening to the podcast and you're thinking to yourself, I'm not sure who I should go to for paving and compaction, I can tell you who you should go to, right? You could go to a generalist and you could find paving and compaction, or you can go to a specialist who can actually show you true paving and compaction. I think that would be my sell. From compact equipment to paving to the aftermarket side of things with telematics and things of that nature. I can tell you where you should go. It's Dynapac.
Yeah. I'm glad you actually said that from a sales and support standpoint. I'm sure they can go to the website and kind of navigate their ways. And if you're in the industry, you probably know somebody at the local level. But what does sales and support look like at Dynapac? Do you have people all over the country that are representing different regions? And is that the best way of really working
Yeah,
with
so
you?
not only do we at Dynapac have people all over the country and all over the region, but we go to the markets with strategic dealer relationships, right? And so I have 48 dealers that I'm tied to through across the North American market. And I would say that if you talk to my dealers, they would say that it's different with us, meaning that all the stuff I kind of talked to before, this is true partnership stuff. This isn't just, okay, you're my dealer and they are my supplier. Most of the dealers, I mean, there are plenty of dealer principals and dealer personnel who know me, my wife, my kids, come to dinner. They know people in the company. It's different. I mean, it's different. There's a true relationship or a true partnership with our dealer network. And I think it shows in our service and support. And I think I would implore anyone to test it, honestly, because I think that it would prove itself.
Really, really good. Well, as we move into leadership, you called yourself a nerd earlier, so I'll start off with this question. How do you continue to grow and develop as a leader?
Well, I mean, it's always a learning experience every day. I mean, if you go to every situation, assuming you know the answer, you never really get to the real answer, right? So I'm always open. my style is really to listen, right? If you listen, you learn a lot more than you do when you talk, right? So for me, there's always something to learn. I mean, okay, while I could do multivariable differential equations, that might not mean I know how to pave 4-inch depth for some period of time in the best way to get the best density. Fine, that's someone else does that every day of their life and knows that better than I do. So who am I to come out and tell them this is how you should do it, right? So I think being open to hearing the feedback and hearing what people want and need and digesting it first before you act like you know everything.
Yeah, that's really smart. I've always had a statement that I say, great leaders ask great questions, and then it creates great conversations that then you can work towards solutions. So it sounds like you're a real relational leader. You like to be talking with people, engage with people, learning from people, hearing what's going on, but always progressing in some visual, some vision that the team would have. So it feels like you're always looking for somewhere that you're going. So am I summarizing maybe a little bit about how you are as a leader?
Absolutely. And not to use a cheesy, I don't know if you watch Ted Lasso, but be curious, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, be curious as I throw the bullseye, right? I mean, and I'm always curious. So as a leader, I know when we first launched our new highway class paver, it's built in South Carolina. I flew down and stood off the back of it, right? Stood on the screed and laid asphalt with it. Like, I guess that's not apparently. So the owner said to my sales managers, he said, "Hey, who's that?" And she was like, "That's our president." And she's like, he's hanging off the back of the screed. I mean, if you're curious, then you learn a lot. That's for sure. So
I love that. We're super busy individuals. Leadership, you get more and more busy. So I guess the question I have is, how do you manage your time and energy to maximize your leadership impact? I mean, when I start hearing headquarters in France, 48 dealers across the States, building a new headquarters, new equipment coming out. I mean, there's a million places that you could go. So how do you maximize your leadership impact?
Yeah, that's a great question. Especially, I joke, a cloning machine. Is that a good answer? I don't know that the world can only handle one Jamie. Really, it starts with transparency. I think if you are transparent with what the mission is and set a clear communication path to that, as long as the mission is clear and you're transparent about what it is, and then, as I said earlier, give the autonomy to do it, right? Because it becomes less of, can we do this? Can we do this? Can we do this? And when everybody has that sort of entrepreneurial spirit, right, you go in a direction together, right? So rather than having to be involved in every single small decision that gets made, the people have the autonomy and the clear vision and clear direction to go do it, right? And so I think it's really about trying to maximize, from a transparency perspective, tell them, here's what we need to do, and then give them the tools to do it.
Yeah, that's really good. So from an organizational leadership standpoint, it's casting a vision, building leaders, letting them make decisions, embracing the entrepreneurial spirit, and really just empowering them to take charge. And so you're multiplying, your vision, your beliefs through your team members, which is absolutely incredible. And, the question I've got next is, how do you build a healthy team culture? But it sounds like that's really how you do that.
100%. I mean, and we do other stuff, right? So for example, I do once a month, we bring in a food truck, right? We bring in a food truck and everybody comes out and, we buy them food, right? It's really not about that. It's an experience of, the food truck comes in, we have a different food truck every month and everybody goes out to the food truck. And I guess we're probably no different than a lot of other places, but for the first time this past year, we did a all hands on deck employee event. So we brought everybody in from the company to Charlotte, North Carolina. We did the Whitewater Rafting Center, just had a good day of fun, and just, everybody got to jump into rafts and flip out of the rafts and almost drown.
That's incredible. Hope you had your
That's
insurance
right.
policy up. Well, it sounds like things are going swimmingly well, and everything's going really good. But in any organization or with any leader, you end up having leadership challenges. And so the question I've got around that is, how do you manage resistance to change within your team? Because I'm sure that there's been some new things or new equipment or new ideas or new policies or new procedures that maybe everybody doesn't get on board with. So how do you lead through, any type of resistance to change when you're hearing about that within your
Yeah,
team?
that's a great question. So, really, before we have any, I would say, contentious decision making, right? There's usually an alignment discussion, right? To understand what is the mission, what are we trying to get to? Again, you go back to this transparency piece, and so understanding that whatever the situation is, there's got to be some level of compromise, right? And so, more or less, putting it all out on the table, and then letting everybody sort of speak their mind in terms of, hey, this is how I feel, this is why I feel it. And I can translate that into one time we actually had a dealer of ours that ended up going out of business, and they got out of the business. And so we had the option to go with two different dealers, or there was a new dealer coming in. And so we met with all three parties, and we took the decision back to the management team and said, hey, here's the scope of what we need to accomplish. What do we want to do? Right. And so I literally went around the table and said, okay, the floor is yours. Why don't you talk through what you think it is and what the issues are? And then we kind of went around the table, and more or less in the end, it was a decision that was made between all of us already. Right. So I think giving them the floor and giving them the opportunity to explain what it is, you start to gain alignment. Right. And so it makes the decision sort of understood. Like, you're like, okay, this is probably the best way we should all go.
Yeah, I'm just imagining what that sounds like, and everybody understands the problem, the solution, they understand the what and the why. It's a team conversation, and so I love that word that you used. You got alignment, and everybody walks out the door. You battle in the meeting, but when you walk out the door, everybody's rowing in the same
That's
direction.
right. Yes. So we're all headed in the same direction. And generally you're moving the ball forward. That's exactly right. 100%.
That's great. Well, hey, workforce development, as you've heard, you know, by the year 2031, 40% of the construction industry is going to retire. We need a net new 500,000. We need net new 500,000 new people coming in every year starting this year. We've been talking about it for a long time. There are many companies that are out there that are doing some really incredible things. But we've got a long ways to go when it comes to workforce development. So I'm curious, where is Dynapac with attracting and retaining talent? And what are some of the things that you guys are seeing or doing or hearing out in the marketplace?
Yeah, I think so. In general, I think you start with a word of mouth, right? So when you talk to people, you can hear and feel the excitement, right? So people want to come work here. I think that starts with we have a very clear and robust onboarding process. We have a checklist where you go by department, and you spend time with each person in a department, and you learn at a high level. You learn the processes that what happens in customer support. You learn what happens in technical support. You learn what happens in warranty. You go through, even from the standpoint. I mean, and I love it. Our accounting department, they feel like it's their business, right? They feel like they explain to the new employee, this is how I run my business. And it's really cool. But I think that clear onboarding process gets everybody a general feel. Okay, I understand the organization, which I think is important for retaining people, right? Once you get them here, I understand what I'm supposed to do, how I kind of navigate within the confines of the organization. So I think that's a good start.
Yeah. You said something that was really profound. It's something that we talk about a little bit, but you have people who want to work here. And so you've created a place that people want to be. That sounds very intentional.
It is. It is. I mean, again, fine, there's tough positions that are to hire, right? Specifically industry, like if I need someone who knows how to do RCC, okay, that's hard. There's not a robust pool of people who come, oh, I want to come to Dynapac for RCC. But there's plenty of positions in terms of general nature that people are like, oh, that's a good company. I recognize them in the Charlotte area. I want to come work there. But yes, I mean, we've created foster a culture of people who, from a referral perspective, they want to come here. They want to come here and work, and it's exciting.
Yeah. Well, and as I think about, the workforce in the fields, the people that are using the equipment, whether it's laborers, operators, drivers, all the different technical positions that are out there in the field, if you have a leader that creates an environment on a crew that is fun and exciting and caring and supporting, and they get to learn new things, and they teach well, and they treat people well, and they get a lunch every once in a while, or if they're doing all some, like, sometimes it's like office and then field. And there's like, yeah, well, we're talking about Dynapac, but a lot of that is really relatable in the field too. You can do some of the same exact things out on a construction crew as what you're doing, in the office. So I think it's really important to make sure that our listeners are translating. Yeah, we're talking about Dynapac, but it can be done in the field as well.
100%. I 100% agree with that. And I think a lot of times being able to connect those dots, it's important, right? Because in the field, you feel isolated a lot, right? So I 100% agree with that.
And when you said RCC earlier, I'm thinking roller compacted concrete. Is that what you were referencing? All right, I was just making sure for anybody who's out there. I spent a little time on roller compacted concrete.
We have a paver. We have a paver that does RCC. So just throwing that out there.
Very good. Very good. That's great. So from a training and development standpoint, do you guys invest in continued education and training for your people? Is it like, hey, we do it here, or they can go get it on their own? Or like, what is your philosophies around continued education and training and development?
We have organized, there's a sort of an entry level, right? So which is it's, death by PowerPoint, unfortunately. So you learn sort of the rungs of the company through, okay, here's what a soil roller is. Here's how it works. Here's what it does. Here's the size ranges, things like that. But then I think more importantly that we do a yearly at our factory here, we do a yearly gold, what we call a gold training. So we'll bring every single employee will come here, and they will get a hands-on training for product and services of the Dynapac products. I mean, they will literally sit on, ride on, lay asphalt with, and so they understand and feel what it's like. And I think that makes a difference at all levels. I mean, even when you're going to, I don't want to pick on accounting again, but when the accountant goes to collect money for a roller, they actually know what they're collecting for. They get it. It's not just some ambiguous thing out here. They know that someone bought a roller. I know what it looks like, and it matters to me. So yes, we absolutely do that. And then we get even more focused. So if I said to you, I want to do specific high density RCC paver training, then we have the ability to go to our factory in Baden-Württemberg, Germany, and we could do a specific dedicated training for focus on that piece as well.
That's really cool. Well, as we move forward in our relationship, given the fact that we have BuildWit training and a media crew, we're going to have to figure out how to connect with your new training facility in South Carolina and capture some of that on media in micro learning training and put it in a format that your people don't have to deal with death by PowerPoint anymore. So
I look forward to that.
More on that as the relationship develops. Well, hey, moving on to the Area Dirt World Summit, I started reaching out to you, it feels like a few months ago. This thing, it was an idea for us in January to see where we've come, in 10 months time from idea to development. I started reaching out and telling you what we were doing. At the time, we only had maybe 100 or so attendees. We were really getting started on sponsors. I really wanted to get an OEM, and man, you jumped in and said, I want to be the first. What was it that made you want to be a part of the summit and everything that we're doing there?
Did you see the list of contractors who are coming?
Yeah, over 650 now. It's pretty incredible.
I mean, sort of. I think who could pass a chance to meet with industry leaders and share experiences with this group of people? I mean, seriously, it is a fantastic list of people that are coming, and I think I guess I'm disappointed in myself that we didn't do it sooner. Fine, we were the first, but I think identifying what it is and how we can contribute even more so in the future. But these guys will tell you, all my people say, Jamie does nothing in moderation. So fine. That's when I was on board. I asked you, can I bring equipment? Can I I'm going to bring rollers and pavers and let's put them everywhere, right? So, but yeah. I think just being able to share stories and best practices, and you guys have such great guests coming. I think it would be hugely beneficial for our team to hear and see all that stuff as well.
Absolutely. Well, we're very grateful for your support and your participation. I can say we've signed a contract for 24 and 25. We have a convention center next year. It will be a much larger sponsorship space. I have a feeling that you will be bringing some equipment, and it will be a much different conversation in November or December this year as we're planning a year in advance for next year's event. So it's more to come.
A little hard to stick an 84-inch roller in the bottom of the hotel.
Yeah, we definitely had a little bit of challenges. Well, as we start to come up with some final thoughts here, I guess, just from an advice standpoint, we've got a lot of aspiring leaders out there. What advice would you have them? Would you give them as they're out there in the trenches leading in the dirt world?
Wow. Yeah, I guess from a leadership perspective, if you can be as transparent and clear as a communicator as possible, I feel like you will always be successful. Fine. Is everybody going to make the right decision every single time? No. But if you course correct along the way and you're clearly communicating what the vision is, you end up at least going this way and not this way, right? If you're trying to get to this position, right? The whole group moves in this position, right? And not down. There's not someone moving down as long as you're clearly communicating. So I would say from my perspective, trying to be clear and transparent is probably and keep at it, man. Keep at it. Keep your nose to the grindstone. Keep pushing forward. Challenge the norm, because that's what we're all doing right now. I think this industry is changing, and look at social media. Look at what we're doing here. This is all new stuff. This is all. I looked at your list of people that have called into these calls. It's coming and it's here. So keep challenging the norm. Keep pushing forward.
I love it. Jamie, you've been absolutely incredible. You're smart, you're humble, you're hungry, you're passionate. I absolutely love your passion, your love for not only for Dynapac, but for the industry as a whole. You're a difference maker. Just super grateful for all that you're doing for the dirt world. Love that you guys are participating in the summit this year. Can't wait to spend some time with your team members there. For everybody that's out there listening, you can find Jamie Roush on LinkedIn. He's definitely an active participant. Go find him, send him a connection request, like and follow his stuff. And you can find Dynapac at dynapac.com. That's dynapac.com. For all of you out there listening, thanks for joining us. Keep leading in the dirt world, building people, projects, and communities. Jamie, thank you so much.
Thanks for your time. I appreciate you.